Whether you have experience teaching or don't, your first online teaching class is going to be nerve-wracking, and there's just no way around it. At least it was for me, and that was with my prior teaching experience. So I thought today we would talk about how to handle your first class, your expectations, and things that can go wrong, and how we can manage all that. Hey there, I'm Allison from OnlineTeacherAllison.com, and I teach stay-at-home parents how to teach online so they can earn an income from home. If you have yet to get hired anywhere as an online teacher, but you're looking to get started, make sure you grab my free download that helps match you to the best platform, whether you want to teach online ESL or if you want to teach literally anything else. If you want kids, if you want adults, I've got a free one-page flowchart to help match you to the best platform at OnlineTeacherAllison.com/platform. It's also linked down below for you. So when I started my first class, I had a couple years of in-classroom teaching experience under my belt, but I was still so nervous. I felt like there were so many things that could go wrong. I didn't know the kid. I didn't know the language he spoke. I still remember his name was Jack, at least the American name that he went by. And he was probably 10, 11. And I just remember being so nervous. What if my microphone didn't connect well, my headset microphone? What if I blow through the lesson too fast? How do I fill that time? What if he doesn't understand me? What if I don't understand him? I went on and on. And what I'm hearing from you as you are starting to get hired is you're kind of wondering how to manage your expectations for your first class. So the first thing you can expect is nerves, and there's just no way around it. But don't let those nerves stop you. I want you to take some deep breaths, meditate, do whatever you need to do to relax yourself before your class, and remind yourself of a few things. One, this is your first class. It is okay for it not to go perfectly. So I want you to keep that in mind. It is okay if it does not go perfectly. But the first thing you can do to manage those nerves is to prepare yourself. Whether you're on an ESL platform or you're on an online teacher marketplace, you're going to have to prepare. And for me, that meant looking over my materials ahead of time. So if you're on an ESL platform, the lesson will be created for you. And I definitely recommend you prepare yourself for every lesson. But if you are on an online teacher marketplace where you have created the lesson, you are probably a lot more prepared. But while you're preparing, if you haven't done this already, I want you to think about any pitfalls you could run into, any questions students might have, any common errors they might make, so you can kind of front load that and prepare them that way. So just prepare yourself for the content, and we're going to get a little more into this in step 3. So hold on to that, but I really want you looking through every single slide. I want you looking at the bullet points and what you're supposed to cover. And if you need to take notes, take notes. You will get good at kind of managing the back and forth. But if you need that the first time, do it. Take your notes. So first thing to do to manage your nerves is prepare yourself. Second thing is have grace for yourself. You are brand new. Are you going to be good at anything your first time? No. And I am so guilty of this. I just want to be like the expert at everything as soon as I try it. And as soon as I put my hands on it, I want it to be beautiful. And I really have to work on myself to have grace, because a learning process is a learning process no matter what it is. And it's not always going to be pretty. It's really not. And it's okay. And third, have fun. Even if your lesson isn't going perfectly, you can have fun with your students and leave them with a great memory, a great feeling, a feeling of being seen, a feeling of relaxing and having fun. Learning can be so tense, but it doesn't have to be. As I have had my own kid, I have totally changed my philosophy, my understanding. It's always been my philosophy, but my understanding of learning happening through play. And it really can, especially in the online teaching world, because you are in charge of the classes. Even if the platform gives you the content, you are in charge of how you deliver it. So you can bring that in through play. So have fun in your lesson. That is my personal philosophy. If it's not yours, find it and bring that into your lesson. All right. The second thing you need to expect and prepare for as you're getting started teaching online for your first class is the technology and how it works. So if you're teaching on a platform like OutSchool, you're probably going to be on Zoom or Google Meet or Microsoft Teams, something like that. If you're not familiar with it, get familiar with it before your first class. Familiarize yourself with how it works, how you mute, how you manage the waiting room. Do you want students to share screens? How do you turn that on and off? Kind of manage that. So like we all know how to use Zoom from like the attendee side, right? But how do you manage it from the host? If you don't know how to do that, I want you to set a fake one up and practice it. If you need to bring some friends in or some family members in or fake computers to make it work, do that. And online platforms are a little different. So I'm going to use VIP Kid as an example. It could look different depending on where you are. But so VIP Kid, we were on their platform when I was teaching there. Before that, they were on Skype. But when I was there, we were on their platform. The video feed was there. Their lesson was there. And they had their own like whiteboard tools per se. So like we had a mouse function, we had a pen function, we had an eraser function, we had a timer function. There were like all these functions. And when I first got started, it was really hard managing the functions because if I was clicking, I had to have the mouse feature clicked. But if I was writing, I had to have the pen feature clicked. So be ready for that because VIP Kid, again, as they started evolving and now they have this system called Tiger School, that has even more. So when you see these little symbols, you might not know what they mean. I want you to figure out what they mean. VIP Kid had trainings and I had gone through the trainings and really focused on them, but it had been like months and months between getting trained and getting like booked for one of those classes because one, I wasn't opening slots, and two, there weren't a ton of classes to go around. So it had been months and months and months. And I made the mistake of not fully preparing myself for those new buttons. Like I forgot about it, honestly, I think. And so when I got to the class, it was clunky. I think it's always going to be clunky, even when you get more fluent with it. But it was more clunky because I wasn't very well versed in it. So do what you can to familiarize yourself with the technology working so it's not so clunky. One of the things you can do to try to avoid the clunkiness is to create like a cheat sheet for yourself, like whether it's on a Post-it or like one of those long narrow strips of paper, whatever it's on. If you need to draw crude drawings of like a mouse and a pen and just write mouse, pen, you can do that. Like whatever you need to do, or you can print them off somehow if you can figure that out. Whatever you need to do to make it run a little smoother for yourself, I recommend doing it. Cheat sheets, they're my friend. I love them until I get really comfortable with it. All right, the third thing you can prepare for with your first online teaching class is the platform expectations. And this ties in with the nerves and preparing. This is what I was talking about earlier. So depending on your platform, depends on the expectations they're going to have. So for example, Go Kid, if you've never heard of it, it's because they don't exist anymore. They expected 3 different props for every single lesson. I had trouble with that because I didn't always have a relevant prop. VIP Kid encouraged props, but I wasn't necessarily dinged for not having 3 different ones every single time. So I want you to learn, does your platform expect props? And if so, how many? How often? Same thing with sentence frames. Sentence frames may be different from platform to platform. Some really focus on it, like VIP Kid, and some like Cambly, they don't. Cambly, that's one of my biggest complaints with Cambly is they don't really focus on sentence frames. So when I get on there, I focus on sentence frames. Rewards. Does your platform require a reward outside of what they've got built into the system, if they have one? Because you need to prepare for that. Feedback. Does your platform require feedback? VIP Kid did, and I was so unprepared for that my first class. I didn't know it was a thing, and the feedback I left was not great. And then I learned that my next class was better, but I was not prepared for that. So I want you to think about your platform and their expectations. So for example, if you're on OutSchool, they don't really have a ton of expectations, but you might want to set some expectations for yourself so you can market yourself a little better. And hold on tight because I'm going to get to that in a minute with number 4. So each platform and their expectations is going to be different, and I can't tell you what yours is going to be if it's completely different from what I've taught. Cambly, for example, does not have feedback. So that's not something you have to prepare yourself for. So before you start your first class, I really want you to figure out what they are, either by going on your platforms like Learning Center and your teacher training center, so you learn all about them and how to work the platform, or by joining a Facebook group or finding it online, some way like that, finding your hiring mentor if you had one. They would be a great resource as well. So finding what your platform expectations are, and that way you're not blindsided by anything like I was, because whoa. And finally, the 4th thing to prepare for and think about as you're preparing for your first online teaching class is marketing. And if you're on an ESL platform, I don't want you to shut yourself off from this, because yes, the platform does the marketing for you, but you are still in competition with hundreds and thousands and whatever of teachers. So you need to do something to make sure, you need to market yourself to make sure that, one, you're getting new students, and two, the students that you have continue to come back to you. And you want to do this from day one if you can. If you can't, remember, give yourself grace, but I really want you to start thinking about this for day 2, okay? So some things you can do to market yourself really well is leave really good feedback. Like on OutSchool, they don't expect it, but maybe that's something you want to do to make yourself stand out from all those other teachers. Have the greatest lesson possible. Even if it's prepared for you, make sure you are prepared with props and rewards, and you know the flow and it's not clunky. Have the greatest lesson you possibly can. And figure out wants. What does the parent want you to focus on with the teacher? What does the student want to learn? What classes do they want to take from you that you don't already have that you can create? That's the great thing about getting classes is, let's say I'm doing an introduction to poetry class and we're talking about different types of poetry and we're writing some poems. And I'm talking to the kids and they're telling me that they don't like poetry, which I don't either. But what they really like is Roblox. And parents say that's great, they love Roblox, but what I really wish they would learn is their times tables. How can you incorporate those two things? How can you take Roblox and times tables and combine them to hit both of those wants for the students and wants for the parents who's actually paying for your class, and combine it so that they're learning something valuable and important? Because let me tell you, when I tutor my math small groups during the school year, the amount of students that know their times tables is very low. And I spend all year telling them, you need to learn these because life is going to be so much easier. And I don't have time to teach them times tables. We're working on fractions. So that's where you come in a lot of the time, is filling in those gaps. So how can you fill in those gaps and create those lessons that make both people happy? Both the parent, the grown-up who is funding this class, and the student actually taking it. Because bored students cause problems because they're bored. They're looking for something to do. So how can you think of that? So some of these things, they can start day 1, and some of these things kind of snowball. But as you're learning your students and conversing with them, that's when you're going to create new lessons. And that's when you're going to find your most popular lessons, your most popular times, what times they usually take classes. For me, when I was booking first thing in the morning, it was not a popular time, especially for American students. I got a lot of overseas students when I did that. But a lot of teachers on OutSchool, since it's kind of the homeschooling community, they find a lot of success during the school day. So if you can do that, I want you to start there. I hope that kind of helped. Those are 4 things to get ready for your first class to help set you up for success for that day and beyond. If you're ready to get hired, I do have my video here that gives you secrets to getting hired. This is specifically geared towards online ESL teachers. But if you are on a platform like OutSchool, an online teacher marketplace where you teach like anything else, these will work too to help you kind of learn some teaching strategies you can bring in if you are completely like brand new and have no idea and you want something. And while we're on that thread, I do have a live training to help you get started. There's even more strategies in that live training. You can get it, link below, onlineteacherallison.com/get hired. It is a 1-hour training. It is not currently live, so it will be a waitlist option, but by signing up for the waitlist, you get notified first thing when it is scheduled so that you can grab your spot. I don't know my life enough to schedule out a month or 2 in advance right now. There's like one thing we're waiting for in the next week and a half, so fingers crossed that's pretty soon. And on that vein, I am creating a free challenge. It's going to be like probably 5 days of live trainings from me. That's free. That's going to help you learn who you are as an online teacher so you can set up your online teaching platform. They have these on both ESL platforms and teacher marketplaces. It's meant to be pretty generic across the board so that you know your strengths, you know your weaknesses, your videos, your pictures, everything is set up and you are ready to go. And so hopefully only minimal changes need to get made as you really figure out who you are. You can sign up for the waitlist on that because it's still being created at onlineteacherallison.com/challenge. I hope to see you there. I'm really excited about them. I hope you're having the greatest week ever and that back to school is flowing as well as it can, and we'll chat soon. Bye.